To the cloud. Ooh, I don't recall getting an audio in the past. Did you guys get the audio?
Yeah, it started yesterday. It's normal.
Okay.
Zoom activity.
And you also got like a warning, like a pop-up saying that you're going to be recorded, and if not, you could leave.
Okay. Yeah, that's new. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. But it don't
I am
happen.
now going to share the screen. Okay. I think that's the right one. Okay, here we go. Welcome everyone to the May 25th iteration of the MicroProfile live hangout. Is a link to the meeting minutes? I see a chat there, so I'm assuming. Can someone paste a link to the chat? Sorry, a link to the minutes in the chat. If you're on the call, please click on the link and add your name to the list of attendees. Thanks, Ed. This meeting is being recorded along with the chat, and both will be uploaded after the call. Okay. Oh, it's everyone's shared responsibility to take notes as well. So please help out with the notes. So I kind of stuck an agenda item for Edwin in there. He didn't add it, I did. Kind of asking just where we are at on the 4.1 status.
Yeah, that's no problem. If you didn't, I would have added it. So
okay.
Yeah, well, so I think I can close the ballot tomorrow for the plan review. I think everybody, all the votes are in. I started the IP log request. The bug is being created at Eclipse, so I'm waiting for a response on that. So yeah, I think we're right on track there before June 9th. I think the Eclipse should review it at June 9th or before June 9th.
Actually, did you see Kevin's like comments for the plan review? Is the ballot period is 7 days. If you already got a supermajority, you could close it. It's not.
So yeah, I know. I just didn't get to it today, so I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
But I saw it.
Edwin down the wrong path. For some reason, I was thinking 14 days, and I was wrong on that one. So Kevin corrected. And so I think Edwin's on the right path now.
Yeah, so it was a nice learning opportunity. We still have to find some place for the MPSP page because that is kind of lost somewhere. But the details are there, so that would be a good thing to add somewhere on the website, maybe, as Kevin suggested.
Can I make a suggestion in a case like this where something is longer than it needs to be? If you change it in the middle, I mean, that creates confusion because if somebody sees the email and thinks, oh, I got 2 weeks to worry about this, and then suddenly it's shortened out from under them. You know, unless there's some reason demanding that we change it, or I mean, you certainly can close it if you have the supermajority at this point, but changing them in the middle seems, you know, potentially fraught. So once it starts, might be best to just let it go to whatever it started with.
Plus one.
Yeah, so that's what I did in this case, if I understood you correctly.
So +1 for what you did.
Okay, thanks.
And good point, Ed. All right, so if you could just type in the status. Just for the notes, Edwin, that would be awesome.
I will.
Okay, that's it for that. And I was on PTO quite a bit last week, so I'm a bit behind on things. I apologize. One of them is the discussion around the patent licensing, the spec patent license. We have to choose verbiage for that. And Jan sent out a couple of added a couple of links to related content. One is a blog from Mike Milinkovich that I've started to read but haven't finished yet. Crazy day. And then David had sent out a patent example with long-running actions to the Google group a while back, last time we had this discussion. So where we're at is there's 2 language proposals about what we want to vote on. So I need to send out a link to those two, and we have to decide which one we're going to vote on. Basically, are we going to vote for the implementation or patent license, or we're going to vote on the compatible license, right? So I need to send out an email on that. Right now, that discussion is happening on the steering committee alias, which is not a public alias. I could, I don't know what thoughts are about having that on the working group alias. Moving that discussion there. Are there any?
I missed that if it was happening on the steering committee alias.
What's
It is not happening. It is not happening at all.
No, there was, hold on.
No, hold on. So basically it started on the steering committee alias, right? And then basically I took some PTO last week. So I didn't really move the conversation along, right? So I want to continue the conversation about which one to vote on, but I want to have that conversation on the working group alias. Is there any issue with that?
No, that would be nice. I tried to make a comment on the Google Groups discussion, but I'm not allowed to.
Need to join. John, just join and then ping me if you have problems.
Okay, I will try that. But the mailing list would be great for that topic, I think.
It would be.
You may want to have it on the working group mailing list, and for your consideration. And then, and Mike's blog, I did drop a link to it in the working group mailing list.
Yeah, I added your link here, Paul.
So, yeah, I'll push that out this afternoon, Pacific time here. So the yeah, I prefer to have this in the working group and not the Google group, right? Just because this is more official business, as opposed to kind of like community business. So I'd like to have it logged and saved there. So I'll send it out this afternoon and basically say which one do we want to use, right? And I'll try to use verbiage that's not straw poll per comments. Okay. So that's what I really have on that, unless anyone else has comments.
Well, but what's the mechanism of the query? Just plus one or the other, and you're just going to tally votes, or?
Well, that's a good question. I that's probably what it'll have to be, a plus one on using the spec license, or a plus one on, using the implementation license, or a plus one on using the compatible license, right? And then based on the results of that, we can create an official vote.
Okay.
This one is going to be this. Scott, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you.
Yeah, I don't know how else you do that other than just try one or the other.
Yeah.
That is what I think Paul called a straw vote, right?
Yeah,
So,
but is it really a straw poll or is it a vote? And that's kind of what the discussion was. So I'm just to use the word vote on which one we want to vote on, right? So it's kind of like
here's another in your wordsmithing. The steering committee or the community is establishing a consensus on which resolution to take to ballot.
Yeah, should we first start the discussion and then vote in another thread?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I mean, I can post a discussion thread and post a vote thread. This mostly impacts the vendors who are contributing that IP, right? So while it's useful and interesting to have community feedback, it really comes down to more the legal position and preferred position of the vendors contributing IP.
Yeah,
However,
all
And specifically patent
contributors
holders.
could have these ideas vendors could implement. Vendors are affected, basically, but users are also affected. And the ideas resulting in patents could be contributed by everyone who contributes.
Yeah, but actually not so much, in the sense that the patent option choice applies to patents that are in existence. I mean, it's always possible that somebody will express an idea, and it could get patented. If it's already been expressed, then there's prior art, and question was whether or not it was original. But that's somewhat orthogonal.
Well, to be more specific, and you're correct, and to be more specific, it's the voting that gets us to patent protection, right? So when we have a plan review and all the vendors who potentially have a patent portfolio that might affect the materials produced, when they vote +1, it's a public record that a court can understand that says, hey, that vendor who is now potentially suing for patent infringement voted +1 on this release, and so therefore they have no standing that there was an infringement because they've signed these paperwork with the Eclipse Foundation already, and they voted publicly that they agree that the specification can move forward. There's no basis to it. Individual people are not voting in that same capacity.
And I'd like to not turn this necessarily into a discussion here. Again, trying to keep this to be more of a status call. But I do want to ask, I guess, are we okay if, well, let's see, maybe I'll go back to, do we want to have more time for discussion, or should we just go to kind of a vote thread?
I would first just say do the what Paul was saying.
Oh, yes.
Consensus on the direction with no discussion.
So that's kind of, yeah, that's actually what I meant. By vote thread, I actually meant the consensus thread. So thanks for the clarification. Yeah. So I'll create a consensus thread. And you know what? If it's not necessarily 100% vote thread, I'll do a consensus thread. If there's some comments in there, insert some comments. But I'll go ahead and kick it off using the language that's that already exists. And when I post it, everyone will see the language.
We need to clarify, the steering committee is the one that will get to vote the final tally, correct?
Yeah.
So that needs to be.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, steering committee.
Yes, so that needs to be stated in the mailing list has like 70 people. So it needs to be stated there so it's clear, because even John thinks, John, your consensus is right. You are part of the steering committee and you are a user representing 43 JAGs and you are concerned. And it's valid and you will get to vote. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, there you go. Let's move. This is a status quo, not a discussion. Let's use the thread. Right, John? Let's move.
Okay. Emily, yeah, I'm gonna move on. It sounds like we're okay with starting the call on the working group thread. So I'll kick that off this afternoon. Program plan, Emily.
Yeah, so a few of us started looking at the program plan for the open telemetry for the 2021 MicroProfile goals. So it's we got together and started putting a plan together, and then there's some confusions and discussions on the mailing list. And then it's kind of a few of us, Bruno, me, Bruno, Jason, and I put together kind of the initiative. Basically, is I suggest creating the new spec and etc. We can start using the creation review process similar to Jakarta EE. So and then it's kind of working group and vote, and then it's we just kind of get all this process standardized, and then people started working on it. So this is kind of I took the what Jakarta EE's kind of plan review and created the yeah, for the MicroProfile open telemetry. So it's,
Should this first be a sandbox project to see if there's enough interest to actually do it?
Ken and I plus one that is why we got involved. Ken started the sandbox. He didn't say sandbox, but that's the idea.
Well,
Right.
right. But for the open, we could put it in the sandbox as well. And however, like because we have this release review and we have the creation review and etc. And then it's kind of all based on the kind of decided by the working group. I mean members. So it's I think it's we could put it in the sandbox and then send like initiate the plan review via the kind of the working group mailing list, etc. Could do that. But for open telemetry, this is kind of something special because as we all know, open tracing is a dead end. So the successor is open telemetry. So we don't have, we can't really hang on with open tracing. So we have to align with open telemetry. So that's why it's kind of come up with this. I don't know, Bruno or Jason, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I can add that open tracing and metrics are key specs for observability, which it's very important for microservices. And given that MicroProfile open tracing is end of life, basically, because the original spec will not evolve anymore. If we don't evolve to something like open telemetry, we will effectively drop that kind of support on MicroProfile. We might argue that we don't want it. We might argue on the specific details on how the project can evolve. But to me, this seems like a pretty strategic decision. So I would like to hear your opinion in general about this.
Well, I think what we might want to do is have an item in the technical call next week to discuss this in more detail. There's actually two aspects to this. One is historically our process was sandbox first. And you bring up a very good point. Sorry, I forgot who it was. Brought up a very good point, Emily, I think. Now that we have a creation review, you know, as a sandbox is interesting. So I think that's one topic that might be useful for the technical call next week. The second topic is to get into, you know, discussing the open telemetry spec in more detail.
Yeah, we could, yeah, we can do the detailed conversation on the technical course.
I've already added since a couple of days ago that as an agenda item to the technical call for next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Roberto, I don't want to hijack your agenda on that call as it relates to sandboxing. I'll leave it up to you if you want to have that conversation next week or
Sure.
just postpone it. Yeah, it's not really, you know, critical or anything. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking for my cursor. I lost it. Which monitor it's on here? Okay. All right. So I think we're kind of done with this one. Let's have the conversation in the technical call next week.
It also continues to happen in the thread, in the community thread, which is great.
Mhm.
There are two places, so it's not going to stop. It just goes on. But good call on the technical call. That's just the spot to own it.
Yeah, and it's good to have it on the agenda for, you know, for today. Everyone go track that thread. Community outreach. Kevin isn't on. I don't know if Chandra's on, but Emerson is on. Do you have a status update?
Actually, not much to say about that. We chat a little about the Slack, but has been working on the translation for the Hispanic community, Spanish community, and that has been the only progress I can say right now.
Okay, if you could just go ahead and add that as a bullet item here, that you're working on translations.
Sure.
That would be awesome.
And Emerson, the current work you are leading is helping other microprofilers that have never seen in our ecosystem come in and also help with the translations, because we're using Twitter. and they are just, oh, MicroProfile, okay, let me go. And it's just so cool. So thank you so much. You are rocking it.
Thank you.
Okay, the budget. Now, this is one that's going to take more discussion today. So I'm glad Paul is on, and Amelia and Tetiana were, well, a lot of us have been involved in creating / really working on the budget. But Paul, you had sent out a note. Sorry, I forget which which venue the note was on the budget.
Oh, I sent that one to the steering committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to give an update on kind of the ownership of the MicroProfile budget, and how we should be how we should be finalizing and voting on it, I guess. Roles and responsibilities.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, the budget is there to implement the priorities in your program plan. Technically speaking, the budget document and the budget itself is an increment of the overall Eclipse Foundation budget. So it does roll up into the foundation budget, and which is why the process, the regular business as usual process, is for working groups to do their budget planning and program planning in the fall, so that by the time December wraps around, the program plans wrapped up, the budget's wrapped up, and that budget can then flow in and be part of the Eclipse Foundation foundation budget. So that's, from a technical perspective and a governance perspective, how it works. But what I'd like to stay focused on is collaboration and cooperation, and how do we work together to implement the priorities that are outlined in the program plan. And the one that I presented a while back had, and it's been a while since I've looked at it, had a chunk of allocation for to be determined items that was expected that the steering committee and its in its capacity as well, also to fulfill marketing responsibilities that could be undertaken by the working group, would come up with a proposed allocation for that budget amount to apply to initiatives that would be brought back to the Eclipse Foundation, that we could take a look at together, understand it, and figure out what needs to be done in order to fulfill the objectives and the funds that are tied to it. So that was point number one. Then point number two is there is a larger or an important discussion around branding and compatibility that we need to work our way through and see where we end up with regards to what it means to that budget allocation that was proposed, and we're fully eager to do that and willing to engage in that topic. The recommendation is to let's get going as quickly as possible with regards to approving a budget, so that items that could get spent on do get spent on, and you're starting to benefit from the budget that is there for the overall success of the working group. And as we continue to work through the compatibility program, and that in itself may end up making some changes to the compatibility allocation, and from our perspective, that's a way to get started, and we'd love to see what the steering committee's proposed with regards to how to align the priorities of the program plan with the budget portion that was set up for that.
Okay, so I'm trying to think about how to frame this conversation. So we have we've been working on the branding and compatibility in the marketing team. We've got kind of a draft budget, and I don't want to. The reason why I'm trying to figure out how to frame this is because this is not a steering committee meeting, and not everybody was invited to come and participate in the conversation. So that's why I'm trying to kind of frame this conversation here. But maybe do you want to? I don't know if it's Tetiana or Amelia kind of just bring up kind of a draft of what you're thinking of. And let's keep it pretty brief again, because I don't want to, not everyone may be here, about where we're at. And then we could do the same. I think we already have branding on the agenda anyway. We could talk about the branding and compatibility later.
So how about this? Tatiana, are you ready? Can you, John, open the budget Excel detail document that we worked? Tatiana, do you mind owning this part? It's awesome. You were super helpful in helping us clean up. And I would love for you to own it if you are available and able to speak. Thanks.
Yeah, I can speak. So basically, at the moment, we have this Microsoft budget document with general information, and we came up with some summary, and maybe it's more like visible in the presentation. I will send it to the chat right now. I'm not sure.
I think the presentation link is already in the notes, right? Is this it right here?
It should be, yeah.
It is in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the slide in the presentation shows that summary better. It's slide number 12. So basically this one, yeah. So this is what we came up as a result, and the distribution of the budget that we expect. And from my side, right now, I just have the question, like, what is the next step? Do we need any approval from Eclipse, or do we need to just post it somewhere? What should be the next step to finalize it? Because from my point of view, it seems finalized. The only question we had was connected on how much money we are going to need for compatibility program and for all this legal stuff program, because there were discussions that there might be not 40,000 but less, or if we are going to cover it ourselves. So then more budget will be available for other activities, but in general, this is what we have at the moment.
Yeah, so as I put in my email, it's helpful if the budget document, the budget itself is an Eclipse Foundation document that we're looking for your input on in collaboration with. So creating another budget isn't the most effective way for us to work together. That would be point number one. Point number two is the area of the, and I can't do math so well in my head, and I mean, ultimately what we have here is it was our Eclipse Foundation budget presentation to kind of level set you on how we started. So what I would have expected would be a plan that at least for the swag infrastructure paid ads, which I guess could add up to roughly the $36,000 that was in the original budget to be allocated. That would be proposed, and I would expect as well that there'd be some more detail on that, and perhaps there is in the other spreadsheet that we've looked at, and I would expect that the steering committee would be looking at that detail and have the breakdown of how it bridges to the 36,000, how it supports initiatives in the budget, and the steering committee then would contemplate it and plus one it, and at which point provide that input back to the foundation. And that said, it'd likely be goodness for us to take a look sooner rather than later, so that we can understand what you have in mind, so that we can provide any input that we've got. And so that would close off the 36,000 portion, and then the other rows. Yeah, I haven't gone through these numbers, so I can't kind of bridge them back to what we presented before. But I'm happy to go away and do that, and then leave the
for
the
information is on the slide 11. Just for you to know, we didn't delete it. We just like marked it as hidden. So this one was before.
Yeah, yes, I totally get that. But what you've done is taken a presentation that was a presentation by the Eclipse Foundation to the working group to tee up a budget proposal, and added the slide to it. My recommendation it would be to work within your program plan, the marketing initiatives that support it, and identify your sub plan, if you will, with regards to the marketing areas that you've outlined here. And then we can fold it back into a revised version of the budget and move things forward with you.
So
I have a question on this. Sorry, John. Can you click page 11, please? When we worked on this, we don't agree on the usage of press and analysis relationships. That's not going to happen. And then with content creation, also websites, also because we are doing all of it ourselves. So you mean with the feedback you are giving us, you mean these items can be deleted and you can use.
We just won't put anything in them. If we may test you, we may say, look, that means you're not getting any press releases. Yes. Zip, nada. There will be no press release that goes out on the Eclipse Foundation wire in support of this working group.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to be comfortable with that.
Yes, and
we may have some input for you for your consideration, and then we kind of lock and load and go. So, but it's that discussion that we'd like to have with you to help fill out this discretionary section. And that, it looks like there's been some good work that's been done in the spreadsheet that Tetiana showed her. I can't remember. Anyway, I've got it up on my screen. I think I navigated to it on the
so
link.
I'm looking for it here.
So if there's a tab in there that marketing budget, and
there are many tabs. You cannot see them, but there are many tabs in the bottom.
Yeah, and so marketing budget. I see the number 37,000. Doesn't look like it. It would be if it tallied to 36, then it bridges nicely, and I would leave the overall budget to us and allow us to continue to work it in a collaborative fashion with you.
Using what we have, Paul, using what we have shown you today, correct? Or you see, how about this?
Well,
we
so,
on the marketing side.
I've been waiting to get a word in.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, the framing of the process is, I would frame the process as that the budget is for the working group to decide and own the master document, and it can be done with the input of Eclipse staff. But the final approval final approval process is the steering committee votes on it, and then it goes to the Eclipse board, and that's the final budget.
Yeah, unfortunately, David, that's not the process.
It's not the process.
No.
Why?
I'm not going to get into a why discussion. I mean, what I'm proposing is a practical way to go forward that's within our governance, and I'd love to get to work on for starters, allocating that $36,000 in a way that aligns with what you've proposed in the MicroProfile budget spreadsheet.
I mean, so just so I can clarify for my purposes, we don't, as a working group, have any control over the budget overall, only just the 36K?
No, David.
Okay, so we do have the ability.
It's not what I said, and you can take the discussion in that direction if you want to. I just don't think it's very productive.
Well, I'm just trying to understand, right?
So I've said it on other calls. I said it at the start of this call. I said, let's get started with the $36,000. The $40,000 for compatibility and branding is one that we need to work through together.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing has come into my inbox, nor have I seen anything on the mailing list. May not be entirely true, so don't necessarily quote me on that one. That helps progress the definition of what a branding and compatibility program would be for MicroProfile. But happy to get into it and happy to work that and refine that item. And as well, it also affects the next item as well, the 40,000 and the 10,000, because 10,000 is the management of the program. So it kind of depends on what the program ends up being and what we end up having to do. And the legal costs were tied back to the trademark. And Amelia asked a question that I answered, and I haven't seen any follow-up to say that it wasn't answered adequately.
Okay.
So, I think I have outlined a way forward, David. I've done it multiple times. I'm looking for productive engagement.
Okay, Paul, here, just sorry for interrupting, because I'm trying also to figure out what is the blocking point right now, because from my perspective, I put inside this summary on the slide number 12, the same things that we were discussing before. There is this point about 40,000 for the program, 10,000 for management, and 13 for legal fields. So basically, this table was done based on the table that you were offering in the beginning. So, and only those 36, if I'm not mistaken, 30 with something thousands were distributed between all this SWAC infrastructure, paid ads, and so on and so forth. So it's already there. So I do not think that there is a problem with the distribution of the money there. But for me right now, it's not clear what should be like the next step. Is it something now so, you is like Eclipse is going to review this and maybe put it to your document? Because I think that this presentation was created separately, I don't know by whom, but created separately because we do not have editors' rights in the initial presentation. So in order to make it easier to tune it, the copy was made. So right now, as far as I see this and understand this from the point that Eclipse is responsible for the for finalizing this and making final decision, you're going to review this presentation one more time and put it to the initial document, to the initial presentation, like a final version that will be sent to the steering committee to discuss and vote whether everyone is agree or disagree. Am I correct with that?
So what we are looking for is input on the 36,000 that was put in discretionary. And we are looking for the steering committee to review a set of line items that align with the priorities in the working group in support of those initiatives. And we're looking for the steering committee to approve that set of items. And we're looking for representation from all of the steering committee members that have binding votes to, for those items to agree that they do represent funded initiatives in support of the program plan, and it's that's their direction is to allocate the funds in that way. So we're looking for that input, and with that input, we will update the budget document.
Okay, so by just to clarify what you mean by input, because for example, as far as I understand this, you are waiting for some more details on how these 36,000 are going to be distributed. Am I correct?
Can you point me to? I guess what would help me is meeting minutes where these items were discussed in a meeting that was agended, minuted, and voted on.
Okay, good question. I'm not sure that we had like the meeting where we voted for that. We didn't.
We haven't.
Yeah, so
no, we haven't voted. So what
we haven't voted.
No. So where we're at is we've been having these conversations in the marketing committee, right, as it relates to the discretionary spending, and the trademark compatibility. Right, so those are out there. The meeting minutes are out there, although we haven't voted on it, right? Because we need to bring it to the steering committee to actually have a vote. But the way, again, I want to get back to framing this conversation. So we have to bring what's been outlined so far to the steering committee, right? So that's the piece that hasn't been done. So now that includes the topic we haven't gotten to yet, which is the branding and compatibility. That's coming up. So I guess my ask is, what's the right venue for us to present this where we're at to the steering committee meeting? It may result in a vote if we think it's ready. If not, then we'll have to tune it and come back for a vote.
Yeah.
So we can call a special meeting to have this conversation, or we're basically going to punt and come back in 2 weeks and make this a steering committee call.
I will be +1 on the
Let
steering committee
Paul,
for next
yeah,
call.
let's let Paul give some feedback.
Yeah. That's partially a question to Paul as well.
Okay, yeah, can we start on the discretionary and knock that one off? And on the compatibility and branding program and the management of it, I'd love to get into more detail so I could be a better participant in that discussion. And that would be my recommendation. And the other is it is a little confusing for me with regards to which of these meetings are steering committee meetings and which are community meetings and which are technical meetings, and which meetings are ones that will have content in it that will be relevant to steering committee representatives, and I need to make sure that I'm at. So that's my input.
Yeah, and that's something I can send you. There's basically this meeting, the marketing meeting on Mondays, and then off week Tuesdays we have the technical discussions. So I can send you that. It's in the MicroProfile calendar.
Yeah, no, what I'm confused with is I think the charter says once a quarter there will be a steering committee meeting. So it sounds like every other meeting has the possibility that there could be steering committee topics.
Yeah, so
decisions.
Yeah, so in the MicroProfile calendar, we do have the formal days for scheduled steering committee meetings, right? If we need to have a topic discussing budget, for example, this discussion, and we just discuss the need to have a steering committee meeting, we bring those up, and those we try to give at least a week notice for having a steering committee meeting, right? Cool. And in the off week of this meeting, right? Ad hoc as needed.
Okay.
So there will be a meeting notice sent out to the working group alias and to the Google group form if we have a steering committee meeting.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Yeah. And I think you are correct on the visibility that you might not have had because you're not joining you don't have to join the marketing calls, but we are making a leeway and the compatibility of the program to catch up with this. I will start sending the working group mailing list to that mailing list. A subject say compatibility of the program in parentheses with each topic, because we are way past what we talked in 2 months ago. We're making really great progress, and we are using Git issues and documentation, and the community is helping. So I will update you with different threads, and then I will add those to the minutes so that you can follow up with questions directly in that forum where everyone can answer the questions. But definitely, I think we missed the mark on that update. And thank you so much for calling it out. We will do better.
Wonderful. I'd love to continue to make progress and move this all along. My objective is to see that you benefit from the budget that is allocated to this program.
Well, what we're interested in is in saving as much as possible of the 40,000. This is not altruistic, right? So we're doing a lot of the work, and we want to know how much once the tasks are completed, we want to know how much we're saving. And then it doesn't include legal, because legal is 13.5, and we shouldn't go into details. Right. But I will send you those messages today to the working group and catch up, and directly apologies, because I should have sent it as this task are moved forward.
Yeah, no worries. I never seem to be able to make the Monday calls.
No, don't even worry. That is on us. We should be communicating through mailing lists. I'm saying, I apologize. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Too busy. So, gotcha.
So I think what I'm gonna, I think a good idea or an idea is to, in 2 weeks, this call, this time slot, have a steering committee call that reviews a budget proposal.
That's one.
Okay, and based on the discretionary spending, and if it's okay with everyone, I'm gonna skip marketing just to get to the branding and compatibility because it's related to the budget.
And I just wanted to, I'm confused, and I don't want to be perceived as attempting to be hostile or anything. I'm just generally confused. So when we do vote, are we voting on the budget overall? Are we voting on the full budget when we do vote eventually as a steering committee?
That would be my recommendation. And as adjustments are needed based on where things end up on the compatibility program, the budget can be adjusted.
Okay. Because
I'd love to get going with what you can get going with start leveraging that discretionary funds in order to drive priorities that align with what's in your program plan.
Okay. Cool. Because I'm just trying to understand, because on the Jakarta side, we always vote on the budget and consider that to be like done. So I just, when you said the statement that when we give input and then it's worked in, it didn't match what my experience was on the Jakarta side, so it confused me.
David, I think my recommendation would be that you'd, and it would be the resolution that you vote on. If there's still work to be done on the compatibility program, which I think it's likely that you formulate the resolution to approve the budget, understanding that further work is required on the compatibility program and that particular budget item will need to be reflected, based on the outcome.
Adjusted throughout the year.
Yeah, we have it. We added a document, a section that says this cannot be used without approval for the 40,000 because we're working on it and we will continue to work on it. We're almost done with many of the tasks.
Okay, so I'll schedule a steering committee call for this time slot in 2 weeks to discuss a budget proposal, right? And I expect tweaks, so it doesn't have to be like final. And then we could decide if we want to vote there or if we want to vote in the mailing list. Okay, so I'm gonna, if it's okay, kind of skip over marketing and there's probably some related items, but get the compatibility and patents, just so Paul's kind of up to date with where we're at on that.
I said that I would send all the messages, but do you want me to do some updates in this call right now?
Yeah, just an update, just so Paul knows where we're at and we're prepared to have this conversation in 2 weeks at steering committee call.
Okay, Ryan, you're here, right? We are almost done with the creation of the handbook. Ryan, do you want to take on that?
Sure. So as for the handbook, we are on, I think, the 3rd iteration. There is a little bit of still content needing to be written on the intro of the book, of the branding book. That's kind of waiting on me, so it's bottlenecked on me. It's been out there for comments for over a week now, maybe a little bit more, week and a half.
2nd iteration, yes.
So this section here, the introduction, and we'll put a little history, will be kind of updated, but the main parts of the branding manual should be there. These, how you can use a logo, colors, fonts, all the meat and potatoes of the brand manual. So if there's no objections on major things, after we update the introduction, it's pretty much good to go.
Now, the one thing that's, I don't recall if it's in this slide deck, I don't think it is the compatibility perspective that might tie into the budget around, the use and application of the logo.
We're working on it, John. We're working on it right now as we speak.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right, Ryan? What we,
Sorry, what was that? I missed that about the compatibility badge or?
yeah, so that is linked into the other task that we have that just got closed last Sunday on allowing the community to provide us versions of different logos for compatible. And now we go into the process of evaluating the submissions. We got a total of 4 with different versions. And Tomitrive has agreed to bring up, with the help of Ryan, all the versions on how they will be used. And that is, you know, just so that we can show the community, you know, not only community, those ones working, if something, if that addition or that submission is valuable to go into a vote, because we decided in the community, in the sitting call, that the community will be the one voting, but only the signs that pass the test that we're bringing up in another week will go through selection. And clearly, this is very important because it's the section that is missing from the handbook, and we are tackling as we speak after Monday's call that happened just yesterday. So it's all linked to the Bratt handbook slides. And Ryan is working on the 3rd iteration. As soon as he's done, he will update the minutes, send it to the marketing forum for more updates. And if you want, we can start using the working group for those updates as well. Maybe we do that, and instead of sending it to the MicroProfile marketing, maybe that is a good way to bring visibility on the steps as well.
So one thing I'd like to do is have the content available ahead of time for the steering committee meeting, so people can kind of read them and get up to speed before they join the call. So it sounds like we're just a little bit of ways from that. Well, I guess I'll leave it at that. So I think I know what I was going to say. We don't have a marketing call next week because it's a holiday. At least here in the States it is.
We don't have it. We have it every 2 weeks, so it's not available.
Okay, it's an off week. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So I want to say this. So let's just, I guess, work via whether it's get tickets or in the community about when that stuff is finalized enough to send out to the steering committee for kind of ahead of time perspective, so it will speed things up during the budget call.
Yeah, I will own it today.
Okay.
To say true apology to Paul, because you are blind, and we will do better in communication and use the working group. I'm on it.
Okay.
No worries at all.
No, we own it when we own it, and we only can do better when we are told, hey, this is missing out, let's fix it. And this is how we do it.
So I'm going to do a really quick, very brief update on CN4J, and then if Emily or Roberto would want to talk about technical goal updates. CN4J, so basically I'm going to send a note to the CN4J Alliance alias, basically saying I'm just going to remove the slides that I created. There's just not enough consensus. I don't think we're going to get there, or if we do, it'll just take way too long. So I'm going to send out a note just saying I'm going to remove those 2 slides. Let's see if we can nail down that deck and move forward.
Hold for me a second. I don't want to monopolize this call, but we brought the differentiations onto why there are 2 working groups, and those 2 slides are meant to answer those questions. I know that not only Tomitrive is +1 on that, but also Gelastic and the Garden Jag, and also Atlanta Jag, and a few others. So when we say not enough consensus, can we please make sure we send a note to the CN4J Alliance asking for consensus, because I am not comfortable as one of the people that actually pushed for that work, thanks to you and Scott for working on it, for them to be removed based on the contract. I have been personally holding myself back from adding any comments in what currently is, because we need more voices in there, but I'm very cautious that these slides are important. And I think if we fail to explain why they should be there, and if the 2 projects are too uncomfortable to actually state the one has a higher budget, then we need to think why that is. And if, you know, all these things, I am a little bit confused, and I'm saying, please don't remove them. This is proper backup.
I would like to give a little air. I missed the threads where there was something controversial about them. I'm sorry.
No, it's in these slides themselves. So you have to look at the comments on the slides.
Okay.
So again, this is what I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email to the CN4J alias saying I'm going to withdraw the slides. If someone else wants to take ownership of them and try and move them forward, feel free to do so. But let's have the conversation in the CN4J alias.
My recommendation would be to have a call on this, just because it seems that two or three comments and now we want to remove them, and then we are alienating 4 or 5 different partners who agree with the need of them, and then it has not even catch those slides because they are in Google and we have not updated. We're not using the forum, so we have a problem of miscommunication, not communicating enough is what I see. So it's premature to remove them at the moment.
I'll post it at the CN4J Alliance thread. Everyone feel free to comment there. If there's still a lot of discussion around it, next week is an off week of the Jakarta Steering Committee meeting. We can have what is hopefully a final CN4J messaging meeting. Right? So let's take that approach.
Yeah.
Sorry to chime in real quick, because I'm supposed to re-skin these or make them match the rest of the kind of presentation. Can someone please just ping me when the decision's made, what's staying and what's not?
Right.
Yeah, no, I fully understand.
Totally.
I'm not going to design it and then they all get deleted. So
no.
Yeah, fully understand.
Thank you.
And we're at the top of the hour, but I do want to give an update about the last technical call. Emily, Roberto, or Edwin.
Right. Okay, I will quickly jump in to say something. We already discussed the 4.1, so that's don't need to say anything. For the 5.0, be aligned with the Jakarta EE 9 or 9.1. So it's I started doing pulling the Jakarta EE 9 APIs into the parent POM. So it's just trying to do a prototype on the config, and I got it working in my local environment. It's not big work. So and then I will kind of start with the change, update, and implementation, and to get a TTK to pass. And then with that experiment, and then the rest spec can follow the same suit. So that's pretty much. The other quick conversation is about possibility of the MicroProfile 3.3.1 point release. I think it might happen or may not happen. I think it's Dimitri brought in and to see whether it's possible to certify against the 3.3, and because it's not under the working group release, so we said no. So that's it. I don't know, Roberto and Edwin, go ahead to add anything I missed.
I think it's pretty complete, if I recall correctly.
For 4.1, we still need to figure out the discussion that it's happening on the GitHub issue or the GitHub pull request about the compatible implementation definition.
You mean the spec update in the umbrella release, right?
Yes.
I think it should carry on with a PR review. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think with that, I'm gonna kind of call it end of the call. Good call, lively discussion, a lot of interaction, awesome. And I will see everyone in 2 weeks for this call and in 1 week for the technical call. So same bad time, same bad channel.
In CN4J, correct? We said that you will schedule.
No, I said based on the outcome of the discussion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
Well, it's the
yeah, there
same.
may be. Yeah, there may be. For this call, same bad channel in 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.